So this is going to start to make more sense, okay? If you're feeling a little wobbly, this might help. So just take a moment and get grounded and take a deep breath in. So this is all about, okay, so the stories are actually the gift of what was in the dark, the storms you went through. So with the last 4 years since 2022, was about setting intentions with the Capricorn, 16 to 18 degrees, which was our last Venus of the 4 years in Capricorn. This is now the last. So 4 years of development, what have you been doing? Okay, so are you still sorting through intentions? All right. So Christmas don't come from stories, but actually the gift of the storms. So what did you learn to fight through the last 4 years? Okay. So this is about the development coming into Capricorn now, the later years, as we are determined to whatever it was with the last 4 years. Were you determined? Did you have slow work? Was it steady pace? There was a bigger focus on a goal. So that was the theme, right, for those 4 years. Now you're slowly moving into January 6th with Venus, star, and Mars. So on January 6th, it's going to be about action, determination. This is masculine leadership energy. So it's going to be a triangle in conjunction with the sun. This is about starting a new year of energy that affects now. Well, it happened. It's going to be at 3 degrees. So this is about the developments of Capricorn. The energy is going to affect now, even though it's not January 6th. So whatever you're realizing now is important to you. Maybe you're now looking at what goals to claim. Or something maybe popping up from 4 years ago. This is all about your reality. Are you ready for changes? Or what have you changed in your life? Right? This is clearing karmic energies. Are you ready for a new career change with Capricorn? That is the question. Or a relationship. Not only progress that you have made, but what kind of mastery? What is the mastery? Where have you mastered some test, or maybe within the past 4 years, with 16 to 18 degrees in Cap in your chart, that hasn't been easy. My Capricorn is my descendant. So there are no shortcuts, okay, or, quick developments here with Cap. So if you have been looking for some fast action or movement forward, it's pretty going to be slow in that sense if things have felt slow, right? The Capricorn influence is about cause and effect, reaping good or bad. What you have developed or invested in will come back to you in another lifetime. This is really to not repeat in karmic aspects of your timeline or experiences that you had that could come up from your past life as well. This means karmic with money, right? How you spend your money physically. People, who are you kicking out? You know, blocking. This is materials. Are you returning items, right? That just don't serve you, right? Or selling things. This is about your health too. In karmic relationships with how your body ties into the cosmos. Yeah? Because some people don't realize what their ray is, right? And so we have now peace in the soul, which is with Venus, to walk that razor edge of that middle path of balance and harmony, because we have both Venus and Mars in Capricorn. Okay. I want to just backtrack for just a second. With Venus and Mars, Mars is about action, determination, and leadership. And the Sun is conjuncting that, starting the new year. Okay, so January 6th, Venus and Mars come, and they're actually at a steady pace together, focusing that. They're both shifting and moving kind of at the same time, but in different pace, like kind of a different pace, really. But let's go back and say this means with karmic and relationships, this might be a time to assess who is evil. Let's put it like that. Okay, or the mindset, right, of people and how you, their mindset or how they think, right? Maybe it's just not clicking with you anymore because you find it to be rude or abusive or tyrannical or narcissistic or whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, we can call it whatever we want. I was just reading on Freud on narcissism and the me attitude from the 1920s. But the mindset here is about what is serving you, the trends that are not serving you anymore, the clothes that don't really serve any purpose. You know, even if you don't go out anymore, think about that. How are you dressing, and the mindset between that and the karmic patterns, especially with what you're eating, routine, habits, and your health. Focusing on that. This is about long-term with Capricorn and resilience with inner strength, so you can be self-reliant to get to where you need to go without being distracted, detoured, or I guess I could say, or off your course. So think about what matters to you long term, right? This is the key focus here, ensuring your energies to be invested in that direction. So where would you like your attention to be towards? Now remember, energy is currency, so what you give your attention to, that is your money. That's your time. In a lot of ways, yes. So like if you give love to your dog, it gives love back. So that has a lot to do with karma. So what karmic energies are you clearing? Because what comes back to you can come back in other lifetimes. So what you develop and invest in is going to be really important, especially for 2026. So I will say this is about realizing good or bad. And when I say like people or situations that are just not working for you, or you're working too much, that's also going to impact your health, which is also going to offset your money. So think about that as well. This is about nobody's going to come in your way, right? So with the long term, you're gaining that resilience and self-sufficiency to get where you need to go without being distracted or deterred or off your course right now. So think about what matters to you long term is the biggest question here. Okay, next. So eliminate what doesn't serve you and keep what does. This is revolved around Capricorn, strong boundaries, integrity, and self-respect. So think about what would love do, what would peace do, that kind of question. Also with the longing for God, right? This is also about what White Eagle is one of the main people who talk about the 7 rays of unfoldment, right? Because Venus is really close to the sea. So this is about real tests that are going to be surprising with the Venusian ray on emotions, the testing. Okay, so you may be tested in the storm, okay, that might be submerged under an emotional conflict that somebody else could be having. Okay, and this is about the test of inner strength, the power inherent in every soul to control the elements, to still the waves of their emotions. When the boat was threatened to a great storm, Jesus said, "Be still, peace," and the winds and the wave, right, obeyed him. So what is the Venusian ray can find here is the place of silence at the center of their own being, and this is kind of the theme also as well, to get out of this energy of conflict from others as well and their projections. So the soul could be exhausted and torn by emotional suffering, but it also seeks comfort and reassurance by turning to ways that it can feel a longing or an aspiration towards, to realize eternal spirit with deep peace, right? So this is more or less going back to the self-respect as well. So where do you feel respected? Are you respecting yourself and your body with what you're eating, what you're doing? Are you exercising? Are you going to, massages? Are you, these are kind of things that you kind of want to look towards for true loyalty, right? It's not always easy for some people to being trusting oneself, and I mentioned that before, is to save one's own life, and this might be a really good time for that. And I will say, because Mars and Venus, if you look up at your chart where those lay, that'll tell you where you can master your creative thoughts to maybe help you understand a little bit too as well, looking at your Capricorn. Venus is about higher spheres, because this is about a physical expression as well. So people who are strongly influenced by Venus or have Mars in their chart, this can also talk about the discipline powers here you need to carry. So with that being said, let's move on. So I could talk about that all day. So what's required to make something happen here, and why is this important? Because it purely is in detriment to Sag. So when I mean it's detriment, meaning it's not in the sign. It's basically Mercury shines bright when he can focus on more of the particular details and facts, but there's here more of a general assumption, right? And that makes kind of that can make inspiration, okay, very good actually. So to look at the bigger picture, why and what does it matter? So in detriment. So are you looking at the bigger dream of what you want out of life? And you may feel a little bit hopeful about what is possible to what that is at this time, with Mercury being mental and physical as well, and what that means after, or what resonates with you that can help you not to be righteous or opinionated too at this time. All right, so we'll come into December 27th, which is the Mercury and Sag Chiron with retrograde 22nd. Okay, the new moon perspective narrative of this stormy message to Chiron retrograde is about to encourage us to things that may have felt like we were kind of uncertain about or painful. We may have been. This is encouraging to know, because it's clearing up the struggles where risks, right, were there. So now what was vulnerable was once going to leave and painful, so hooray, or uncertain about. So you're going to become more secure. The wounds are going to decease. So if you think you've been healing for 40 years, I would probably question the fact that you could just say, more braver, courageous, to go for it attitude is what it's bringing up with the Chiron, the retro. And I will say that this has been more like with the Mars and Sag saying, why not? Only live once. What's there to lose mentality? So encouraging, this is very much saying what was encouraging or hesitating is now changing because of the fire sign energy, which is seeking more movement, right? Hopefully that made sense. This is Chiron with retrograde in Aries. That will station direct January 2nd. So there could be a sense of standing still or wanting to heal or have some powerful change or shifts that you may feel during this time, bringing you new options possibly. This is the last planet that will trine Chiron before he stations direct next Friday, so he's kind of getting a download, so you may be feeling that or invigorated or supported or not as limited or fearful. So after this trine to Chiron, Mercury then moves into Sag or square Saturn to Pisces at 26 degrees and 26 degrees, okay? So look at where your Saturn to Pisces, or your Saturn, yeah, I see, I have my moon in Pisces, so if you want to look at your Pisces there, because this is kind of the big deal here, okay? So December 29th, and we'll also square Neptune and Pisces January 1st from December 9th, okay? So kind of between that range there. So the final few days of this year is really about Mercury and Sag squaring both of these outer planets in Pisces. So in other words, this is about greater confusion, okay? Can't see, you're lost. What can't you trust? Can't understand, and the full story you're missing, okay? So not to get too astrological with the chart in of itself, because that can be a bit confusing for people, but yet give you a kind of story of what's going on. So Mercury's in Sag, squaring both in Pisces, says, turn inwards, trust what you feel that resonates for you. Less extreme of the world you need. So what is influencing you? Who is selling you at this time? Who's marketing you? Are you buying a scam? So this is like, is it somebody you know that wants a relationship? Is it underlying motives? What's their narrative? You know, are they gonna get anything out of it? This is kind of the ones you need to look out for, who have the most to lose during this period. And because of their lies, the manipulation, their motives, anything that's ceasing to come forward here. So take a note of that. That's kind of like the last couple days. So there could be some projections, false masks, people hiding, info you don't look at, where the truth is. So, in other words, this is also about looking over and trusting basically what you're feeling instead of what they're saying, okay? Because it's really not normal, whatever they're saying. If they send you a DM or a text or anything, that's the way they text or how people come off, or something just doesn't sound right, then it's not right. Invest right now, okay? And it's more of like a malicious, diabolical energy, okay? So you'll know that you don't want to invest in this towards this, whether with somebody or something. It's just not normal. That's just not, they're not normal, okay? Normal people don't do that. They don't text certain things. They don't say that. They're not perverted. They don't have rude remarks, or they don't act out of character to try to get money out of you, right? You could tell who are the ones that are in it for the money, you know, and are not, okay? Even when you're watching a video, you're giving that person, more rank of views and whatnot, right? And then they get off camera and you're like, oh, they're subbing, right? Like, or something, right? So or they write something like in the comment section, regarding I need money, or I'm doing this because, you know, and I understand, but I mean, it's not something that's over time. This is like not an overnight thing. This is like, you know, if you haven't been doing YouTube for 6 or 7 years, you know, right? So look at that. Look at those people, and they do come out. I was watching a tarot reader, and I don't know who it is, but confidential by all means. Yeah, they just had to say their truth, you know, that they were really falling apart. So, you know, you have to be careful who are the leaders, right? So false masks may come off. So it's something to look out to, and you'll know something's off, and why? Because of what they have to gain. You may not know what they have to gain sometimes, so you have to really, really discern. So they could be energy vamps, they could be monitoring spirits, they could have entities, you never know, right? They, you know, so they're, you know, what are they hiding, you see? Or what do they have to gain or lose? So think about Mercury and Sag here, and Saturn and Neptune and Pisces is signaling this time to say something that does not line up in your mind, okay? This can also be, if you're not certain, then the hell, they may not even know, okay? So be certain in this, because they're going to want to recreate this bad karma, okay? That's the real point here, okay? And this has been 3 times we had this square previously with Sun, Venus, and Mars, all in Sag. Trust me, I am a victim of this, okay? Squaring these 2 outer planets in Pisces. So this is an ongoing square for a while, and thank God we only have another month, okay, with Mercury coming in, which might try to make a declaration. So you look in their direction, and you don't trust yourself, don't question, you know, anything, but see the truth. That's what I'm saying, okay? So with that being said, let's move on. Okay, can things be hidden even longer? Yes, that's what's going to happen. So we only have 1 more month of this Neptune and Pisces. That's going to re-enter Aries January 26th, and then it's going to stay there until 2039. So false prophets, be aware. Big liars, be aware. Big victims, martyrs. Those are the ones who relied on others, right? To spirits, for them to spiritually bypass. Most of these people, you know, they're spiritually bypassing. They are not doing the work, and they're trying to get energy from people, and, you know, from others who are, you know, they're going to be really, these